Welcome to Stoic Today, where emotional strength begins in silence and transformation begins with truth. We're incredibly grateful to have you here. In a world that constantly pressures you to explain yourself, fix others, or prove your worth, choosing stillness, clarity, and inner peace is not weakness. It's the beginning of your power. That single second when the super empath no longer shrinks, no longer explains, and no longer sacrifices themselves to survive someone else's chaos, that's the second the story begins to change. In this message, we'll explore what happens when deep empathy meets deep boundaries and why silence may be the most revolutionary choice of all. Like this video if you're ready to reclaim your power without saying a word. Comment with the moment you chose your peace over their chaos. Subscribe to Stoic Today right now, because healing in silence is still healing, and your quiet strength deserves to be seen. Ready for more truth? Click to continue to the next video. Because the journey doesn't end here, this is just where your freedom begins. That's the moment the narcissist, who's built their identity on manipulation and power, starts to lose their grip. It's not just a personal choice, it's an energetic shift, and it changes everything. Because here's the truth. For too long, super empaths, the feelers, the fixers, the peacekeepers, have been the emotional scaffolding, holding up someone else's broken ego. But when they walk away, that structure collapses. Fast today, we're not just talking about walking away, we're talking about waking up. This is your call to action, your permission slip, and your reality check all in one. Let's go. Empaths aren't weak, they're warriors with a soft heart. That statement alone flips the narrative society has pushed for years. We're told that sensitivity is a flaw, that being deeply emotional means you're fragile, unstable, or even easy to manipulate. But here's what most people don't realize. It takes extraordinary strength to feel everything and still choose to love, to show up, to care. Super empaths don't just carry their own pain, they carry the emotions of everyone around them. And they do it without asking for recognition, without needing applause. That isn't weakness. That's resilience on a soul level. This super empath has the ability to walk into a room and instantly sense tension, joy, grief, the emotional undercurrents no one else notices. And instead of shutting down or ignoring it, they take it in, process it, and often try to heal it. That's an emotional skill set most people can't even comprehend. But because their hearts are open and giving, they often attract people who are emotionally unavailable, manipulative, or in need of a constant source of validation. People like narcissists. And here's where the misunderstanding happens. When the empath starts adjusting themselves, overextending, and absorbing blame just to keep the peace, people from the outside see it as submissive, as weakness. But it's not. It's endurance. It's grit. It's holding space for someone else's chaos, even when it's tearing you apart. And the truth is that strength can become dangerous not to the empath, but to the narcissist. Because the moment the empath realizes the pattern, sees through the manipulation, and begins to reclaim their energy, it's like an earthquake. The narcissist has built an entire identity on the predictability of the empath's compassion. The moment that predictability ends, the narcissist's power starts to unravel. And yet, the empath doesn't get credit for their courage. Why? Because emotional strength isn't as loud as dominance. It doesn't scream. It doesn't threaten. It stands quietly and walks away. But don't confuse that quiet for weakness. It's the kind of strength that rebuilds after being broken. That chooses empathy over apathy, even when it's
where she used to the conversations that once excited her now feel empty. The places she once found comfort now feel foreign. The people she once leaned on now seem distant. It is. What looks like wilderness to the world is sacred ground too. The chosenate is where God plants the seeds of legacy. One tear, one step, one revelation at a time. Not because something is wrong with her. It is because something is happening in her. She is being separated, pulled away from the ordinary, because what is inside her is not meant for the common separation, is not rejection. It is redirection. When a woman carries a unique assignment, she cannot afford to be entangled with distractions that dilute her purpose. She may try to hold on to force herself to remain in places she has outgrown, but destiny does not negotiate it. Calls her higher, And in doing so, it pulls her away friendships. What looks like wilderness to the world is sacred. Ground to the chosen it is where God plants the seeds of legacy. One tear, one step, one revelation at a time. Fade relationships, shift familiar doors, close not as a curse but as a divine strategy. She's being positioned, prepared, set apart for something greater. The discomfort of separation is the price of elevation. It is a painful process because it strips away the security of the known and pushes her into the uncertainty of faith. It forces her to trust in a plan she cannot yet see, to walk in obedience when everything around her suggests she is alone. But separation is not isolation. It is consecration. It is a process where what looks like wilderness to the world is sacred. Ground to the chosen it is where God plants the seeds of legacy. One tear, one step, one revelation at a time. Learns to hear the voice of her calling above the noise of the crowd. A chosen woman must understand that she cannot carry everyone with her. Not everyone will see what she sees. Not everyone will understand her journey, and that is by design. Some people are meant for her history but not for her destiny. There is a weight that comes with being chosen, a burden that cannot be ignored or placed aside. A chosen woman does not walk with ease because what she carries is heavy. The weight of calling is not just about responsibility, it is about what looks like wilderness to the world is sacred. Ground to the chosen it is where God plants the seeds of legacy. One tear, one step, one revelation at a time. Transformation. It reshapes her, breaks her molds, her into someone capable of fulfilling what has been placed inside her. The moment a woman is called, her life is no longer her own. She cannot move the way she used to speak, the way she used to, or make decisions based on convenience. Every step she takes must align with the assignment she has been given, and that assignment demands sacrifice. It demands that she let go of things others can keep, that she endure struggles others will. Never face that she walk paths others are too afraid to. What looks like wilderness to the world is sacred ground. To the chosen it is where God plants the seeds of legacy, one tear, one step, one revelation at a time. Take, the weight is not just about what she must do. It is about what she must endure. A chosen woman will experience rejection, not because she is unworthy, but because her calling separates her from the proud. She will experience loneliness, not because she is forgotten, but because she is being positioned for something greater. She will experience crushing, not because she is weak, but because she is being prepared for power. The heaviness of calling is not meant to destroy her, it is meant to strengthen her. It teaches her to lean not on her. What looks like wilderness to the world is sacred. Ground to the chosen it is where God plants the seeds of legacy. One tear, one step, one revelation at a time. Own understanding, but on a greater power it strips away pride, doubt, and fear, replacing them with faith, resilience, and purpose. A chosen woman may struggle under the weight. She may feel like breaking under the pressure, but that very weight is shaping her into the vessel she was created. To be a chosen woman will always know the sting of being misunderstood and the pain of rejection, not because she is wrong, not because she is inadequate, but because what she carries is too great for small minds to comprehend from the moment she. What looks like wilderness to the world is sacred. Ground to the chosen it is where God plants the seeds of legacy. One tear, one step, one revelation at a time, begins to step into a purpose. People who once celebrated her now question her friends who once stood beside her now keep their distance. Family who once embraced her now look at her with skepticism. This is the cost of being chosen. She does not fit the mold. She does not walk the common path. She does not conform to the expectations placed upon her. And because of that, people will to understand her. They will call her difficult when she refuses to settle. They will call her proud when she walks with confidence. They will call her too. What looks like wilderness to the world is sacred. Ground to the chosen it is where God plants the seeds of legacy. One tear, one step, one revelation at a time. Much when she refuses to shrink, they will question why she dreams so big, why she speaks so boldly, why she carries herself with a vision that seems impossible. But what they do not realize is that she was never meant to be understood by them. Her assignment is not for their approval. Rejection is often the tool that pushes a chosen woman further into her destiny. The doors that close are not meant to stop her, but to direct her. The relationships that fall apart are not meant to break her, but to free her every painful misunderstanding. What looks like wilderness to the world is sacred. Ground to the chosen it is where God plants the seeds of legacy. One tear, one step, one revelation at a time. Every moment of rejection is a divine filter, separating her from what cannot go with her into the next season. The greatest women in history were first rejected by the very people they tried to help. They were questioned, doubted, and ridiculed until the purpose inside them became undeniable. A chosen woman must understand that rejection is not her enemy. It is proof that she is walking a path that was never meant for the crowd. Pain is the tool that shapes a chosen woman into who she was meant to be. It is not an accident, nor is it a punishment. What looks like wilderness to the world is sacred ground. To the chosen it is where God plants the seeds of legacy. One tear, one step, one revelation at a time. It is a process. Refinement only happens through fire, and a woman who carries purpose cannot escape it. The very struggles she wishes to avoid are the same ones that prepare her for what she was called to do. Pain strips away what is unnecessary. It removes the fear, the doubt, the need for approval. It teaches her to rely on something greater than herself. It forces her to dig deep, to search within, to find strength she never knew existed. Without pain, she would remain unshaped, unready, unprepared for the weight of her calling. What looks like wilderness to the world is sacred ground. To the chosen it is where God plants the seeds of legacy. One tear, one step, one revelation at a time. The crushing she endures is not there to break her, but to extract what is pure, what is valuable, what is powerful. Within her, a chosen woman will experience betrayal, heartbreak, loneliness, and loss. Not because she is weak, but because she is being made strong. The people she thought would always stand by her may walk away, the plans she builds so carefully may fall apart. The dreams she once had may seem out of reach, but in every painful moment something greater is being formed. Within her endurance, wisdom, unshakable, faith she will cry, she. What looks like wilderness to the world is sacred ground to the chosen it is where God plants the seeds of legacy. One tear, one step, one revelation at a time. Will question. She will wonder why her path is filled with so much suffering. But when she looks back, she will see that every tear watered the foundation of her destiny. Every wound became a source of wisdom. Every scar became a mark of survival. Refinement through pain is never easy, but it is always necessary, because without it, she would never become the woman she was created to be. There are seasons in a chosen woman's life when she will find herself alone, not by accident, but by divine design. Isolation is not a sign of abandonment. What looks like wilderness to the world is sacred. Ground to the chosen it is where God plants the seeds of legacy. One tear, one step, one revelation at a time. It is a season of construction in the silence. In the absence of familiar voices, she is being built into the woman she was always meant to be. Isolation forces her to confront herself. It strips away distractions, removes the noise, and reveals the truth of who she is. Without the validation of others, she learns to hear the voice of purpose speaking within her. Without constant companionship, she learns to stand on her own. In this space, she discovers that her strength does not come from people, titles, or achievements. No one sees the battles. What looks like wilderness to the world is sacred ground to the bay. Chosen it is where God plants the seeds of legacy. One tear, one step, one revelation at a time. Fights in the quiet. No one sees the nights. She cries out for clarity. The mornings she gathers herself after feeling like giving up. But every struggle is strengthening her. Every every moment of solitude is shaping her into a leader, a warrior. A woman who can carry the weight of her calling without breaking the world often misinterprets isolation as weakness. But a chosen woman understands that it is preparation. She is being hidden, not because she is forgotten, but because she is being preserved. She is being set apart. Not what looks like wilderness to the world is sacred. Ground to the chosen it is where God plants the seeds of legacy, one tear, one step, one revelation at a time. Because she is unworthy of love, but because she is being prepared to love from a place of wisdom, she is being separated. Not because she has no place in the world, but because she is being positioned to change it. Strength is not built in comfort. It is built in the lonely places, in the quiet battles, in the moments when no one is watching. And when she finally emerges, she will not just be strong, she will be unstoppable. Leadership is never given freely. It comes at a cost. A cost. Chosen woman does not rise to leadership by accident. She is. What looks like wilderness to the world is sacred ground. To the chosen it is where God plants the seeds of legacy. One tear, one step, one revelation at a time. Forged in the fire of sacrifice, hardship, and discipline, the higher she is called, the heavier the burden she must carry. She cannot expect the rewards of leadership without paying its price. The cost of leadership is loneliness. A chosen woman will often walk alone, because true leaders do not follow the crowd, they lead it. She will be misunderstood, not because she is wrong, but because she sees what others cannot yet see. She will be criticized, not because she lacks wisdom, but because her vision threatens the comfort of what looks like wilderness to the world is sacred. Ground to the chosen it is where God plants the seeds of legacy, one tear, one step, one revelation at a time. Those unwilling to change, she will be tested not because she is weak, but because her strength must be proven before she is entrusted with more. The cost of leadership is sacrifice. She cannot live as others do. She must wake up earlier work. A push further. She must give up temporary pleasures for eternal impact. She will have to say no to opportunities that seem good but are not aligned with her purpose. She will have to let go of relationships that hold her back. She will have to stand firm in decisions that others do not. What looks like wilderness to the world is sacred ground to the chosen. It is where God plants the seeds of legacy, one tear, one step, one revelation at a time. We understand. The cost of leadership is pain. She will be betrayed by those she helped. She will be rejected by those she tried to uplift. She will be attacked by those who fear her greatness. But every wound will deepen her wisdom. Every loss will expand her capacity, and every hardship will prepare her for the responsibility she was meant to see. A chosen woman does not chase leadership. It chases her. But when it finds her, she must be ready to embrace the cost. Because leadership is not about status. It is about service, and true service. What looks like wilderness to the world is sacred. Ground to the chosen it is where God plants the seeds of legacy. One tear, one step, one revelation at a time. Demands everything. There comes a moment in a chosen woman's life when she realizes that the higher she climbs, the fewer people walk with her. Not because she has failed, not because she is unworthy of companionship, but because elevation demands separation. Loneliness is not a sign of failure. It is evidence that she is rising. When a woman is called to greater things, she cannot remain where she was. The relationships that once felt natural may begin to feel strained. Conversations that once fed her may now feel empty. The places where what looks like wilderness to the world is sacred. Ground to the chosen it is where God plants the seeds of legacy. One tear, one step, one revelation at a time.
Freely give to be returned to themselves is the exact opposite of everything they've been conditioned to do. It's not selfish, it's revolutionary. Because for the super empath, self-neglect often masquerades as love. They were taught by family, society, or life experience that their value comes from being needed, from staying quiet, from making sacrifices that no one else even notices. So when they finally stop and say, "I matter too," it's not just a choice, it's a declaration. It's a reckoning, and it marks the beginning of a new story. One not written by guilt, shame, or fear, but by truth. To the narcissist, this shift is catastrophic. They're not just losing a person, they're losing control. They're losing the one who always forgave, always stayed, always questioned themselves instead of confronting the narcissist behavior. The moment the super empath chooses themselves, the The narcissist's entire framework begins to collapse because now the empath is no longer responding to guilt trips, gaslighting, or manipulation. They're responding to their own inner compass. They're listening to that quiet voice that says, "This is not love, this is not healthy, this is not who I am anymore." And the changes don't just show up in the big dramatic exits, they show up in the quiet refusals, in the boundaries that hold firm, in the silence that follows a toxic pattern instead of a response. The narcissist scrambles, provokes, even pretends to change, anything to pull the empath back into the game. But the empath doesn't react the same way anymore, because when you've chosen yourself, you don't need their validation. You've stopped trying to earn peace from someone who profits off your chaos. That choice also changes how the empath moves through the world. They start filtering their energy differently. They're more selective about who they let in. They recognize red flags faster. They speak up sooner, and they let go quicker. They don't entertain half-hearted love, emotional crumbs, or relationships that require them to shrink. They've realized that love without respect isn't love, it's bondage, and no matter how much it hurts, they refuse to return to a place where they have to trade their dignity for connection. There's a spiritual glow that begins to rise from a super empath who's finally chosen themselves. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. They don't need revenge. They don't need to prove a point. Their healing is the proof. Their peace is the proof. Their glow up is the proof. And that's what the narcissist can never take away. Because once an empath remembers their worth, there is no going back. They don't need to scream. They don't need to explain. They become the lesson. Not the forever, not the destination, but the turning point. And perhaps the most beautiful part of it all is this. When a super empath finally chooses themselves, fully and unapologetically, something powerful begins to shift. They no longer chase validation. They no longer beg for reciprocity. They attract what they have always deserved, but were too self-sacrificing to demand. They begin drawing in real connection built on mutual respect. Safe love that doesn't ask them to shrink. Honest love that doesn't require performance. Healing love that doesn't come with conditions or games. Because now, they've learned to give all of that to themselves first. And that's what ends the cycle, not revenge. Not explosive confrontations. Not even closure. No, the true ending comes from something much quieter, yet infinitely more powerful. The simple act of rising, of choosing peace, of choosing self-worth over chaos, of walking away, not in anger but in alignment. If this message stirred something deep within you, don't ignore it. Let this be the moment you stop repeating cycles and start writing a new story. Like this video if you're ready to choose yourself, fully and finally. Comment with the truth you've accepted and the peace you're stepping into. Subscribe to Stoic today right now because healing doesn't need to be loud to be life-changing. And when you're ready for more, click to watch the next video. Your transformation isn't just possible, it's already in motion. Keep going. You were born for this.